What's up, guys? It's Joe talking about the Kansas State Wildcats coming off of a Week 3 loss against Missouri, and I'm going to get two quick things out of the way real quick, and I want you to listen up because these are pretty important. First thing being this. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. I'm going to say a lot of things in this video that you guys may not agree with wholeheartedly. I'm going to tell you that right now because I saw a lot of takes this weekend, especially overreactions to the Missouri game, that I absolutely do not agree with. And I think it's ludicrous, some of the stuff I saw this weekend, and I want to talk about that in today's video. Full disclosure, I totally understand if you don't get it. I totally understand if you don't agree with me. You're entitled to have your own opinion. But I kind of wanted to run through some of my thoughts about the Missouri loss, talk about some of the storylines I took away from it and what to see going forward. The other thing real quick, once again, I'm giving away a Lavender Quarter Zip once we hit 2,000 subs. So if you're interested in subscribing, we make K-State content every week. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're interested in getting a Lavender Quarter Zip. But guys, I want to start off here. K-State loses 30-27 against Missouri. Sure, that's fine and dandy. I get it. We're not happy about it. That's how it is. You guys are totally entitled to being pissed off, to being disappointed, to being upset, or even just, you can be depressed. However you want to feel, you are totally entitled to feel that way. But to question Chris Klieman's ability to coach, or to question Colin Klein to the point of we should fire these guys is baffling to me. And there are people out there. I know that you might be sitting there thinking, well, that's not me. I mean, that's just the crazy people. There are more people talking about firing Colin Klein after one loss than I've seen in a long time. And I want you guys to know, overreacting is one thing. Talking out of, you know what, is a whole nother thing. That is just not a fair assessment. And I'll talk to you about a couple of different reasons why I feel that way. First thing, have to talk about Will Howard. There is so many shots at Will Howard after this game. I could not believe how much I saw. And I know that you guys have seen some of the videos, and I've been vocally supportive of, obviously last season, I hadn't had the channel last season, but on the podcast, I was supportive of Adrian Martinez going through the season because I think every quarterback deserves a shot to see what they have. What I don't believe is rushing a guy onto the field that's not ready. And I know that you think you know where I'm going with this, but let me explain. On the Will Howard subject, the first thing and the most important thing to focus on is his health. Absolutely his health. Will got banged up in the second half. I think it was somewhere in the third quarter after getting hit by one of Missouri's defensive ends. He ended up staying out there. Definitely wasn't 100%. He was probably closer to 60% if I had to take a guess. And K-State elected to keep him out there for passing downs while kind of bringing in Avery Johnson as a rushing, dual threat type of quarterback in certain plays in that game. Will's health is the most important thing. And I know there's so many people out there that are already like, pull the plug on Will Howard, give the keys to Avery Johnson. I'll talk about that in a few minutes, but I want to get my thoughts out on Will before I touch on the Avery Johnson situation. First of all, as a fan, I get that you want to watch the most exciting thing right then and there. I get that. You want to jump the process. With football, it is so important to understand that we do not know everything that happens in the building. I don't know everything that happens in the building. You don't know everything that happens in the building, unless for some reason this is Chris Klieman watching. In that case, what's up, dude? Hope you're doing well. But on the Will Howard, Avery Johnson thing, Will Howard is the guy. Will Howard is absolutely the guy. And he is not the reason you lose this game to Missouri. I know I might be putting myself out, on the stake there for saying this, but you have a quarterback that throws for 3 touchdowns, 260 yards, but your defense gives up 356 yards to not even an overrated passer, just a guy that's been very mediocre in his collegiate career, to be honest. Brady Cook, you give up 350 yards to that guy. It's not just a one man is at fault. It is not one person that's at fault. You go around this team, and I'm not here to point fingers at anybody, but when you see someone just catch all of the brunt of this, and that's how it works in college football, Will Howard's the quarterback, so he's going to get the blame. Howard isn't the reason that we lost this game. You complete one ball to Ben Sennett, you're in field goal range, you kick a field goal, you win. Not saying Ben Sennett's at fault, because that happens. It's rainy, it's downpour. Some things in college athletics just don't make sense, and they happen. Some things happen. Will Howard, the switch from Will Howard to Avery Johnson isn't going to be what wins us that game. Is it possible? Yes. Yes, it is. And I do agree with this statement that Avery Johnson was severely underutilized in this game based on that formation. It was pretty clear that Missouri couldn't stop the rushing attack with Avery in the game. You toss a receiver out there, you might have potential for a trick play. I know that's probably part of the install. But for the fans that were clamoring to only have Avery out there, I'll give you multiple reasons why I didn't think that was the right call. I think this is what you can see. And Will Howard might not be good to go next week. We'll talk about that later on. With Avery, we've seen him throw the football 3 or 4 times his K-State career. And he is a dog. Don't get me wrong. This is nothing, no shots intended at Avery Johnson, no shots intended at Will Howard whatsoever. But I think for 3 different reasons, Will should have stayed on the field or at least be the guy going forward. Even if he came out of that game, you have Avery finish the rest of the game, that's fine and dandy. But it is so important to understand that that wasn't the Big 12 championship game. That isn't playing a game in Arlington. That isn't the Sugar Bowl. That isn't a game down the road. That's a game against Missouri where I guess, yes, it's important to win. It's not a game that's end-all be-all. Missouri, and first things, I should have mentioned this earlier, Missouri played an absolute missile of a game. I mean, those dudes were all over the field playing great football. You can roll your eyes. I totally understand if you don't agree with that, but Missouri deserved to win that game. K-State didn't. And I have a talking point over here that I'll kind of skip ahead to before touching back on the Avery stuff. Missouri played an A-plus game. K-State played a C-minus game. Someone put a tweet out there. I'm not trying to take credit for your stuff. I apologize. It could have been Caleb. It could have been K-State, man. It could have been a couple of different dudes. I apologize. If so, toss it in the comments. I'll give you credit. Someone put it on Twitter saying Missouri needed to play an A-plus game to beat K-State at a C-plus level. C-minus level. That makes perfect sense to me. And no, it doesn't make it feel any better, obviously. I'm not trying to sit here and educate you as to why, we should feel good about this. It's a moral victory. No. What did happen is we got beat. We got outplayed. But it's not a question to say, all right, bench Will Howard, fire Colin Klein, let's fire Joe Klanderman on the defensive side of the ball. Everybody messed up everywhere. The secondary's trash. The offensive line is trash. Guys, I need everybody to pump the brakes. You lose games like this. You absolutely do. And you lose on the longest field goal in SEC history. A 60-yard field goal after Eli Drinkwitz tried to lose the game with a delay of game call. That's not something that's going to happen 9 out of 10 games. And I'm not trying to educate you to say you should feel good about this. But Will Howard isn't the reason you lost that game. And I need everybody to understand that. There is a likelihood that you put Avery Johnson in the game and he balls out. He wins you that game. That's cool. But here's my thought process. In this game, Avery could have finished and I would have been okay with that. I think he would have done a good job. But to say that Will Howard deserves to be the backup right now and Avery needs to be the starter is ludicrous. It is blasphemous, and I'll tell you why. For multiple reasons. Patience is a virtue. You didn't see Patrick Mahomes become Patrick Mahomes in his first year because he wasn't ready. I'm not sitting here to say Avery isn't ready yet, but think about the possibility if you toss him out there and you see, a routine mistake that a freshman quarterback's going to make because he's not properly ready to read the defense the same way a junior or senior quarterback is. Someone that's played multiple snaps in college football. He goes out there, throws a pick, then everybody on the internet is saying, why did we pull him? Why did we pull Will Howard? Get Will Howard out there. He's tough enough. Duke it out. If you set Avery Johnson up for that, you're loosely setting him up for failure. I'll be honest. Avery could go out there and ball. I mean, you saw his legs working. You know he's got an arm. You know he's talented. You know he's a special athlete. And eventually his time is coming. But it's too early for us to say he's 100% the guy when we've only seen him play 2 offensive drives. So I wanted to put that to rest, and I'll give you a little bit more banking on that. Avery's a dog. He's absolutely a dog. He's going to have an incredible career at Kansas State. But to put a freshman quarterback who hasn't played Big 12 competition, I know this is an out-of-conference game, who hasn't played a top team. He's played one, FCS-level team. He's played a couple of guys on the defensive side when K-State's already up 31-0. It's not enough to say that Avery is immediately ready to be the guy. And for those of you that are, okay, I know Will didn't play perfect, still didn't play bad, okay? He threw a pick. I'm good with that. That's fine. The pick isn't the reason we lost. I'll tell you that right now. Yes, one possession changes it. Chris Tennant gets an extra 8 yards on the ball. That's a tie game. K-State goes out and they convert one of those first downs on 3rd and short. That's a tie game. It doesn't necessarily mean to say that Will Howard is an immediate bench warmer, immediate backup. But to see that response on Twitter baffled me. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, nobody's saying that, let me give you an exact example. And I'm going to leave the name out so I'm not just immediately dogging somebody. This was actually as a YouTube comment. I'm sure you'll find it and I'm sure you'll trace it back. If this is you, I just want you to know I 100% disagree. And I think it was lame of you to comment this. This is not on my YouTube channel, but this was a comment that was said after the game about Will Howard. Inexcusable for a coach who thinks he's better than he is and an experienced QB. Outrageous stupidity between the two of them not to call a timeout on 3rd and goal, down 3 in the final 5 minutes of the game. So the first thing I want to address, I get why you feel that way. But first of all, a coach who thinks he's better than he is. Chris Klieman might be the only guy who has zero ego. It's the reason he lets all of his assistant coaches handle his business. Not in the sense of he's going to get his, but if you have a question about the running back position, he's going to let your running backs coach handle it. He's going to let your defensive coordinator handle it if it's a question about the defensive backs. Experienced quarterback. Yeah, I guess it's not a shot at Will, but to say it's inexcusable for them not to call a timeout on 3rd and goal. In the postgame comments, which I assume you didn't listen to, but if you did, you hear Chris Klieman say Will Howard thought he could get the play off. He came to the sideline and said, "Coach, I thought I could get it off. I was trusting my guy." He's not leaving Will Howard out there to dry, but wouldn't you rather have faith in your quarterback who has won a Big 12 championship, who's played Alabama in the Sugar Bowl? If you feel confident you can get this play off, I trust you to run it. I'm not going to second guess you, screw up, call a timeout. It is so much easier, hindsight's so much easier to say, all right, well, we should have called a timeout there. It's inexcusable not to call a timeout there. I don't think it is. You missed that play call by half a second. Half a second. I mean, I thought it was almost cut down immediately too early. But obviously, whatever happens, happens. But to say a comment like that is ridiculous. Chris Klieman doesn't think he's better than he is. He's an outstanding coach. To say Will Howard's to say Will Howard's overrated, this is another comment I'm referencing on this, kind of saying, Will Howard's overrated, why do we have him in the game when we have a stud like Johnson on the bench? Why would you stunt the growth of a true freshman quarterback when you have a reliable, proven starter? That's the question. Avery knows he's got time ahead. He's going to see the field, and I assume if Will's injured, Avery will come in and have success. But Will Howard gave you the best shot to win that game. That's the truth. I 100% believe that. Because you think about the opportunity. If Avery makes a superstar play, he's Avery Johnson, I totally believe he could do that. But the likelihood of him making an easy mistake or a rookie mistake is so much higher than having a veteran quarterback like Will Howard in there. Now, I want to get off the Will Howard stuff because I just wanted to let you know where my priorities lie. Will's the guy. For now, at least, Will is the guy. I don't think he's regressed. I don't buy any of that narrative. You guys got to understand that one game doesn't change much. At this point, he's a top 10 quarterback in college football. Agree with me if you want, disagree if you want. That's totally your opinion. But I need you guys to understand that one game doesn't change the season overall. The people that are overreacting to this game had the same reaction to Tulane last season. I know I was disappointed, but at the end of the day, it's one game. Yes, if this goes on a 4 or 5 game losing streak, then you address those questions and say, well, something happened here clearly that teams are either taking advantage of, or the quarterback is losing confidence, or this is happening. I don't think that you can look at Will Howard and say he's the reason you lose, especially when you've got a defense that gives up 350 yards, doesn't get off the field, and it wasn't just, okay, we weren't good enough, we weren't making enough plays. It's multiple miscommunication issues. Luther Burden scores all of his points on a play where Marquise Siegel's passing it off to Jacob Parrish or vice versa. Someone's getting left out to dry on the defense. We didn't get lined up in the 2-minute drill. They got on in 71 yards in 2 plays, and nobody is within the vicinity of the receiver. It's not enough to say it's a one-guy thing. I'm not going to point my finger and say the defense blew this one, or Will Howard blew this one, or Ben Sennett dropped the ball, so it's his fault. That's just not the case, guys. It's a team effort all around. And I will say this, I thought of one last thing, so I'm kind of just ranting a little bit. I'm going to go through this, and I apologize because this will be a longer video. Losses are going to be longer. I'll tell you that, guys, right now. And I'll try to be a little bit more positive. I apologize for being so negative. I got a little riled up watching some of the responses. Yes, I'm pissed off about the game, but it is one game. It's one game out of the season that could still end up in a Big 12 championship. Just because you see us in Week 3 struggle doesn't mean you're going to see us at the end of the season be the same team. It's the same thing that happened last season. Things change on a game-to-game basis in college football. Next week, DJ Giddens might rush for 150 yards. You never know what's going to happen. But I've thought about this with Avery. As much as I feel connected to the university in my own extent, I'm not saying that I have inside sources or anything cool like that. I just care a lot about K-State football. The level of football that you and I think we know is nothing compared to those who are in the building. If Avery Johnson, and this, I want you all to hear this right now. I love Avery. I will always go to bat for Avery, but right now that's not the case. If Avery Johnson were the best option, he would be on the field. That's how it is. None of us can second-guess Klieman and say, well, it's a bad decision. You can say that when you lose a game. I get that. But if we were there, maybe they know something we know. Maybe they know something we don't. Maybe Avery struggles with a certain type of coverage. Maybe he can't identify certain things. Maybe he's just a freshman and we're waiting to get him a little bit more experience as the game goes on. And I want to say this. If you feel like he could have gotten more used in this game, I 100% agree. He could have been used in his own package a little bit more. I think that Missouri was really struggling to defend him. They didn't quite know what to expect for that. We'll see it more going forward. All I'm saying is that going forward, this shouldn't be a quarterback debate. So those of you that are on the, we've got a great player on the bench, we got to roll with Avery Johnson going forward. Avery has upside, but you want the higher ceiling right now when you're competing for a championship. You don't want to drop a game to like a Baylor team or to an Iowa State team. And it's not to say that Avery would do any of these things, but if you throw a pick into double coverage because they disguise a defense, it's zone on one side, man on the other. It's just what the room thinks is best right now. Colin Klein knows his quarterbacks. Chris Klieman knows his quarterbacks. He's going to put the best guy on the field at least right now. That's how it works, man. That's how all this works. You have a depth chart for a reason. You run it until you can't. And I feel like that's what happened here. If we knew more, if we were head coaches, it might be different, but we're not. This video might be 30 minutes long. As I'm recording this, I apologize, guys. I'm a little bit heated if you can't tell, and I apologize for that. Offensive line. There's a lot of this, we gassed them up too much in the offseason. This is not the beef, the Manhattan manhandlers. It's not. And that's because you're missing a guy at right tackle. It's not the same dudes you were gassing up. I know that it's quick and easy to say, well, one guy shouldn't change the effort. I think this is what we're experiencing. While Cooper Beebe is 100% the best lineman on that offensive line, nobody's disagreeing with that. Christian Duffy is the vocal leader of that group. Everybody in the offensive line, Connor Riley's talked about how much Duffy's grown as a leader, and you see him cutting like WWE-like promos in social media. That's your vocal guy. And I know that it might not be enough to say, well, it's just, you can plug somebody in there and have someone fill in the energy. What you lack is some nastiness right now. You've got physical ability, you've got mental ability, you've got toughness. You're losing the nastiness. K-State without Christian Duffy is a solid offensive lineman that's here to do their job. With Christian Duffy, it's we're here to destroy you, to run the defense onto their heels. You're missing your leader in that locker room right now, and it's different. I used the Chiefs as an example earlier. I think that you see a team like Kansas City drop the ball as much as they did. If you haven't seen the game, I don't know how you wouldn't. Kansas City stonehands the ball on multiple occasions. You don't have a leader in the locker room that's going to step up and make a play. Not just Patrick Mahomes be like, hey guys, we got to rally around it. Travis Kelce isn't out there to change the momentum. The offensive line doesn't have a momentum changer right now. Cooper Beebe can go about his work. Everybody on that line, Taylor Portier, I thought did a great job. When you're missing your guy, like your vocal leader that gets the guys ready and hungry, that's a big loss. And we're going to get Christian Duffy back, and I think we'll all see that return to form. If not, and quote me on this one, you can bookmark this somehow, I will come back and I will revamp this statement, and I will say that this line isn't what it cracked up to be. Until I see the full 5 guys out there healthy, I will not yield that this offensive line has some ability. They have struggled. Wait till they're fully healthy. That's what I'd say on that. And then last thing, and this is more of a challenge to you guys, because as I've kind of been ranting, as I've been not even negative per se, I've just been a little bit frustrated. And I should mention this before I get into that, sorry. I want to give a huge shout out to my buddy Caleb on Twitter, Emaw Caleb. He's a fan that has been the most rational through the loss, which is kind of crazy to think about if you know Caleb. He's been, labeled as Punished Caleb for a long time because he's been eternally punished as a K-State fan in its own right. He's been the most rational and understanding of Will Howard. Hey, this is still the guy. You should still feature Avery Moore. That's a real situation. When he's the most rational, the fan base is doing something crazy. Caleb is known for being like, hey, he feels one way about something and he's going to tell you that. What I think about that, you see people on Twitter react because it's social media. And I know that this isn't the majority of K-State fans. You're not the majority saying, well, let's run Chris Klieman out of town. This is a loss that you can't recover from, blah, blah, blah. It's the specifics that aren't, aren't educated. It's not even about being educated. It's just about letting your feelings get in the way of reality, of judgment. We don't know what's supposed to happen with this team. We're not coaches. We're not in the building. We can all see from the outside and say, damn it, I thought it'd be a better game. We got to do better in this case. We got to do better here. That's fine and dandy. But when you start coming for these guys about this guy needs to be benched, this guy's horrible. Don't you think the coaching staff would have done that if the guy's horrible? Plain and simple. If you think you know more than Chris Klieman, that's one thing. I know I definitely don't. I don't know more than anybody in that locker room. I couldn't tell you more than any player on the team. I couldn't tell you anyone more than wearing a power cat. The last thing I want to mention, and I know the quick immediate response is that there's more games in one spot than the other. It baffles me the difference in positivity towards K-State basketball versus K-State football. K-State basketball wins a game, and Jerome Tang's motto is tough loss. What's next? 1-0. Great win. What's next? 1-0. The fans buy into that. And I know there's people that are pissed off in certain cases. Well, this team can't do this. You can't rebound. You can't. There's so much positivity about Jerome Tang's squad. Why does K-State not feel the same way? Not all of K-State, and I apologize for grouping everybody together. It blows my mind to see the difference in positivity about K-State football versus basketball. It's the same mentality. What's next? 1-0. Win or loss. It's a different week every day of the season. Every day of the season, it's a different game. You got to win practice. You got to win the game. You got to win this. You got to do this. But the second you stop living up to code, you stop living up to expectations, why are we becoming a fan base that is this toxic, running people out of town or saying things like, oh, we can't stand, get Will Howard on the bench. This guy's horrible. Chris Klieman is way better than he thinks he is. Why is he still here? That's crazy to me. That is baffling to me. All I'm asking is for a little bit of faith and positivity. This crazy faith we have at K-State shouldn't be exclusive to basketball only. All I want for you is to have faith in Chris Klieman, have faith in this team. If Will Howard's not healthy and Avery Johnson goes out there and puts on a clinic, we'll have that conversation next week. But I want you guys to know that everybody in that building has faith in one another, faith in their coaches, faith in their fans to show up and do their job. So all I'm asking in that sense is that we do the same. We got to have faith in this team because things change every single week. Big 12 plays starting. You got UCF coming to town with their backup quarterback. It could be a matchup between Timmy McClain and Avery Johnson, which, hey, I'd sign up for, and I'm excited to see Avery hit the field. But you got to understand that we have to have faith no matter what happens. We care about this team. We love this team. It's what changed this team from almost being relegated to Division II football when Bill Snyder showed up in the 80s. That faith, that passion that we have for K-State, it can't just go away when you lose one game, guys. That's where I'm at. So maybe this is the worst video of all time, and I apologize if there's any of you, I will say this. You're welcome to roast me in the comments if you disagree. I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't say, but all I'm asking is we all be a little bit more positive about the situation. Not positive about the loss. You're entitled to feel pissed off that we lost 30-27, but there's good things on the horizon. There's good things to take away, and it's a learning lesson. You got to remember, K-State loses to Tulane, and then they go and win a Big 12 title. There is optimism here. That's all I'm going to say. But guys, I should get out of here so I don't keep ranting, and I know it's going to be a long edit for me. But I hope you guys are doing well. I apologize for the negative tone in this video. If you have any questions or comments, even if you want to just bully me in the comments, that's cool too. I will welcome it. I'll talk to it. I'll address it. But I appreciate you guys for watching and rocking with me. Thank you for those of you that are very passionate and still really care and don't just want to jump into the negativity train because you're entitled to be negative. I get that. But it's a lot easier to stomach when you see positivity and say, well, damn, that sucks. That really sucks. But you're not out here calling for somebody's head. That's all I'm going to say. We're going to do better. Things will be better, and we'll have more updates here as things go forward. But I just wanted to give you my thoughts where I'm at right now. And once again, I apologize for the negative tone of this video, but I kind of felt like it had to be said. So, guys, I hope you take care. I hope you have a wonderful day. And go Cats, guys. Things are going to get better. I promise you that. Take care.